This is an Apple 512K shell, and we're going to be building a modern computer inside of it. Specifically, this computer. We're going to be putting this Dell Optiplex 3040 Mini inside because I bought this for a garage computer and it's kind of boring. So let's make a really cool garage computer. Fortunately, I already kind of screwed up. See, this originally was a 9-inch by 4:3 aspect ratio CRT, and I kind of forgot about the 4:3 part. So I ordered a 9-inch Raspberry Pi screen because, well, that was pretty much the only thing I could find that was in 9 inches, and there's a bit of a problem. As you can clearly see, I bought a 16:9. Now, unfortunately, the only place I can find a 9-inch 4:3 aspect ratio is on AliExpress, and that's going to take another month to arrive, so I'm going to build it with this one for now, and eventually I'll swap that out for the correct size fitting LCD, which I think will make this a lot better looking, but for now, I just want to get this functional, so that's where that one comes in. Now, my only rule is I don't want to modify this case at all. I want to keep all of the original plastics the way it is, so that means all of our new ports have to fit where the old ports did. Specifically, well, all of them. Now for the power, right here is the original power port, and this is what I got to work as that. This will go on the inside, and we'll 3D print something to actually mount this to the original screw mounts. So I think that's what we're going to do there. Now we got to figure out what other ports we want to put in this thing. And here is the 3D printed LCD mount that I just designed. So this should mount this LCD in here perfectly. Should leave room for the speakers. I don't think I left enough room for the buttons. I kind of forgot about those. I did leave room for here, so ultimately, hopefully you never need to actually hit those buttons once you set it. Hopefully. Plus, I think you can actually still get in there and press them, so we'll be good. Let's mount this thing. I'm not gonna lie. It doesn't fit, but it looks a lot better than I thought it would. Honestly, I think you could pull that off. We'll see how much I like it. I don't know. But as for back here, it fits beautifully. I used the original screws because the seller amazingly included the original screws for the CRT. At least that's what I'm assuming they were. They fit nicely. And I'm going to have to get some extreme right angle adapters for those ports because, whoas, they're a lot closer to the edge than I thought about. Fresh off the 3D printer, well, it kind of screwed up a little bit, but it's fine, is this I/O bracket. It's going to mount on the inside through these two screw holes here, and it's going to make it so we can mount our USB 3.0, 2.0s, 3.0, and our HDMI right there in the original holes without modifying anything of the original cabinet. Now, the one for the power and just block offs for these until we figure out what we want to put there is, well, going to be printing here soon once that heats up. And that fits literally perfectly. I actually can't believe how lucky I'm getting with my measurements. Maybe I'm getting better, maybe I'm getting lucky. I don't know. Probably the luck. But now we can put our fancy I/O ports in here. Now, admittedly, I'm going to somewhat cheap out. Well, cop out. I'm going to hot glue them. And, well, here's why. As you can see, I designed it so that stuff fits in beautifully snugly, but there's nothing to actually mount it with. So I'm going to kind of cop out and just dab some hot glue around it just to, you know, keep it from doing that. And there we go. That is looking awesome. I need to order another 3.0 port because I unfortunately had one, but that looks awesome. Now let's mount this thing in the Macintosh and see how it fits. And there we have it. Now, admittedly, the 3.0 looks really out of place, but it doesn't really matter. We'll get another one in right here, and I think that'll help make that look a little less weird. And now we just gotta wait for this bracket to 3D print. It'll mount from here to the same screw to hole down here, and we can mount our power in and start wiring this thing up. This is looking awesome. Okay, so after a little bit, I think this is unfortunately going to be the best spot to mount it here on the side, because I have access to both of the ports on the end, plus heat that exits here can go out here, heat that exits here can go out here, yada yada. I think this will work. Kind of sucks it's going to be on the side. Maybe I'll add some weights to the other side to balance it out, but now just for temporarily, I'm just going to double side tape this on here just in case I have to remove it, which I know I will actually, because I'm going to have to add a power button to the back because I forgot about that, but let's just temporarily mount this up. Okay, so I've mounted the power supply over here, and I've modified it so it goes to this connector here for the back of the unit. Now I just gotta wait for that to finish printing, and we can mount all this stuff up. But that is looking pretty good. Now just to verify fitment. Now obviously we still don't have the monitor plugged in, but it closes up nicely. It all fits. Oop, I don't think I have it on straight. I do not. There we go. Look at that. That is super cool. It actually weighs quite a bit more than I expected it would, but okay, let's finish waiting on that bracket. Just like that, the final bracket is, well, printed. I kind of forgot to put a hole in that, so I'll have to drill a hole there to mount this, but now it doesn't look the prettiest, especially down there where there were supports. I was kind of printing this at 250% speed, so not the best quality of print. Somebody on TikTok mentioned using USB-C on this port here for the keyboard, and I actually do really like that. It seems to fit pretty well. It'll probably have to be vertical to fit properly, but we're going to put a USB-C there instead of the audio jack, and we'll just put the audio jack on the original port in the back. Not sure about that. We might just put a USB floppy drive in there. It would be absolutely completely useless, but it'd be kind of funny. And here, I'm not sure how I'm going to adjust monitor brightness with this, so we'll figure something out with that, but coming together. And our power connector is wired in, so we're kind of ready to test this thing out. Now, the power button, I'm gonna eventually wire up to the original switch location here in the back. I'll probably 3D print a custom switch, because I don't want a toggle, I just want a push button that looks like a toggle to interact as that button instead of just cutting AC to the unit, because that would probably not be a great way to turn off a Windows 10 unit. So, we just gotta wait on a few ports and our stupid right angle adapters, and this should be done. And there we go. Now we need to just make the fancy shroud for around the LCD and add our extra ports. And of course get the right angle so we don't have these cables sticking out the side and we can actually close this thing up. But that is looking sick. Now let's put this thing together using all of our finally gotten parts so we can finally actually close this thing up and use it. So I can actually close the thing up, I got a right angle to USB-Cs and a 180 micro HDMI to HDMI. The issue is I meant to get 180 USB-Cs as well, so now I have to move the computer again. God damn it. Because that is not going to have enough room between this and the computer for those USB-C ports. And now I've soldered wires to the original power switch so that we can route these wires out and mount our power switch wherever we want, most likely in the original power switch location. And now I'm going to be putting this USB-C port right here in the front where the original keyboard connector was, and I've just 3D printed this little fancy little wedge that'll go on the outside, like that, and this little square that'll pinch around all of this stuff on the inside, and that should hold it in place hopefully. And switching to the back of the unit, I got our second USB 3.0 port to put in this hole here, and I also got our audio jack to mount in this hole right here. And everything's plugged in except for this USB-C port because I miscounted how many USB ports I need. So I'll have to get a splitter so I can run both the display and the touch off of one port or something else off of one port so I can have everything plugged in. But now let's close this thing up and see if it fits together. It should. Note the should. And just like that, it is fully closed up. I didn't have time to model a 3D button yet, so I just have the power wires running out here so I can just touch them together to turn it on until I make a button for there. And we have all of our fancy ports, including our audio. Now we have a surround, and you may be thinking, Block, that's electrical tape. And it is electrical tape. I didn't want to spend the time to design a monitor surround for a screen that I'm probably going to be replacing anyway with one of the correct size. So, that's why. Eventually, we might build an actual surround for this, especially if we end up keeping this display. Or, whenever we replace it, we'll build one for that one. But for now, it's, done. I got the USB-C port is not in right. Oops. I'm going to have to fix that whenever I actually finish touching this. The finishing touches. I still need to put a power switch and all that fun stuff, but for now, it's done. And it's been a few months, and admittedly, it's exactly the same way it was when I, last recorded. It still does not have a power switch. When I get some time, I'll design it and I'll upload it with the rest of the files. Speaking of which, they are linked on my Thingiverse, which should be down in the description down below if you want to build one of these yourself. All the parts are linked on that Thingiverse as well, so the screen and all that. Honestly, I'm not going to change out the screen. It works too well. It looks kind of washed out on camera for some reason, but it's not. Touchscreen works amazingly, so I'm going to stick with it. No real point in me replacing it, in my opinion. It works too well. So I'm going to stick with it. This was an awesome project. Highly recommend if you want to build one of these. Definitely do it. Don't go ripping apart a good Macintosh to do it, though. Maybe find a shell like I did and, repurpose it. This works really well, and I really enjoyed building this project. If you want to see more, please like and subscribe. I got some more videos hopefully on the way. This one was filmed many months ago. I just never got around to finishing it.